Hello everyone, this is Shell Point Today for Thursday, March 19th. I'm Dan Filgreen. On today's show, we learn about an academy class on crossing cultural barriers with Charlotte Stemple. And Ruth Deuber is conjuring up something delightful in the kitchen again that's both delicious and healthy. But first, it's time to remind you that tomorrow kicks off the Shell Point Art Show and Sale. The two-day event runs from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. both days. It's the perfect opportunity to experience and appreciate a vast showcase of art, including stained glass, woodwork, pottery, sculpture, painting, photography, and much more. Artists will also be on hand to discuss their works and answer any questions. There's a raffle drawing and so much more. So be sure to make your way over to the Woodlands Commons and discover the creativity presented by residents of Shell Point. Who knows, you might be living right next door to a Michelangelo or a Picasso. Also tomorrow, the Suzy Q will be heading out to Pincher's Crab Shack in Fort Myers. Docking at the marina at Edison Ford, this outing will be a nice getaway and a delicious meal opportunity. The cost is $5 per person with dinner on your own. Call for reservations at 454-2136. Along with the springtime season comes spring training, baseball that is, and tomorrow is your opportunity to check out this year's Red Sox team as they face the St. Louis Cardinals. The game will be held at the new JetBlue Stadium, and the game promises to be a great matchup. I can hardly wait. Cost is $40 with court pickups beginning at 11 a.m. on the island, 11:10 at the Woodlands, and 11:20 at Eagles Preserve. The approximate return time will be 5:30 p.m. Now is the time to start working on your act for the 2015 Variety Show. The theme this year is Summer Memories, and it's sure to be a delightful trip down memory lane. Acts are encouraged to sign up as a group or an individual to sing a song, read a poem, act out a skit, or any other theatrical idea that reminds you of the hazy, lazy days of summer. Skits will be limited to 4 minutes of stage fame each. If this sounds like fun to you, give program coordinator Caitlin Van Scoy a call at 454-2057. In her years of working with many people across many cultures, Charlotte Stemple has found that almost all of our relationships are related to culture. However, differences in ethnic, generational, educational, and religious cultures often create a barrier. If you're interested in learning about how to cross those barriers, then you'll want to take in her Academy class for the next 2 Mondays. Here's more about crossing cultural barriers.
Hello everyone, I'm Terry Kolath, and I'm here today with Charlotte Stemple of Solana. And Charlotte is going to talk about a class she's presenting in this Academy semester. It's Crossing Cultural Barriers. Thank you for joining me, Charlotte.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Now, crossing cultural barriers, the more we talked about it, the broader it seemed. And I love the way you brought up the cultures that we find even in our own families, or more commonly when we marry someone else's family, all the way to international cultures.
Exactly. When we think about culture, we usually think about going to another country or another dissimilar situation. And dissimilar is probably broader than we think. And even moving to Shell Point is crossing a cultural barrier, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I just have thought about it a lot, and I think about it in terms of the macro and the micro. I mean, what things are big and what things you find out a lot later that are small things.
Now, what is the value of even looking at this? What would you say is the value of considering the crossing of cultural barriers?
I think the value is, number one, awareness, becoming aware that reason things are strange is, and then secondly, to look at the levels. There are 4 levels of culture. And sometimes we easily see one level, but we don't get another level till much later. And so you can begin to really understand why and what you are facing when you cross a cultural barrier.
And we live in the world of the internet. Various cultures are coming right into our own homes. Mm-hmm. How interesting to be able to understand it and even to be aware, like you say, that there are differences and they're going to impact our understandings. You have a broad background in living in other cultures and working in other cultures.
Well, I have. I've lived in Vietnam 10 years. I lived in Malaysia 8 years. and I lived in a culture of war, and I lived in a culture of refugees. And so I think we think about the big issues, the nationality issues, but there are a lot of issues that are inside of other cultures that have to be crossed as well.
Maybe it's just women, I'm not sure. But when I've been in different cultures, in situations of different cultures, I gravitated to putting my finger on what was the same about us and built from there. Did you?
That's good. Yes, that's very good. Yeah. And there are a lot of ways, tips on how to cross intercultural barriers, a lot of tips and a lot of examples. You know, in every subject there's theory and there's practice. And I know the theory and I'll give the theory, but most of mine will be practical and in practice because I'm a storyteller, so that's what is going to be a big part of the learning experience.
If we come to this program, and we're going to offer this program twice for an hour and a half, which is going to give us some good experience on a variety of topics that pertain to crossing these cultural barriers. If we come to the class, what will we expect to happen?
Well, we'll expect to talk, we'll expect to lay the base of the theory, the definition of culture, first of all, and then the theory, and a lot of practice how to do it, a lot of insight into what is really a cultural barrier. And I think it'll be fun. And I'm going to talk about culture shock. We've heard a lot about culture shock and reverse culture shock, and what is it? What are the stages of it? How do you know you're in it? And I think it'll be good for people who travel, especially, will enjoy realizing what they've seen and why they've responded in certain ways.
And I know from other programs you've done with us and talking to you that your words are specific. And when you say crossing cultural barriers, you're going to talk about identifying them, giving us ways to cross these barriers, and really enriching our lives. Yeah. I wish I had taken your course before I married and met my husband's family when I was very young.
That's a big barrier. But barriers don't have to be barriers.
So they don't have to be negative.
No, they don't have to be negative. Barriers could just be differences.
Sure. And identifying, these are just differences.
That's right.
Let's be aware of them, and we can go from there.
The big mantra for crossing cultural barriers, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. And so we'll talk about that too.
That's really interesting. And just a side note, it's going to be fascinating to hear you talk more about the places you've lived and hear your stories.
That's where the examples will come from.
That's fabulous. Well, I hope you will join us. There is a sign-up required because we could only fit so many people into the room to hear Charlotte Stemple talk about crossing cultural barriers, 2 Mondays, March 23rd and 30th.
Smells like something's cooking in the kitchen. That means it's time to visit Ruth Deuber. This time she's conjuring up a healthy spinach salad.
Hi, I'm Ruth Deuber, and this is what's cooking at Shell Point. And I have a recipe for a spinach salad. I know everybody's going to say, oh, we know how to make spinach salad. But this one's a little bit different. We do use the baby spinach, and we do use hard-boiled eggs, and we do use onions and mushrooms and bacon. But we saute and cook the onions and the marshmallows or the mushrooms until they caramelize. And this is the dressing. This is about 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of sugar. And about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Now we're going to put the lid on it and shake it, and we'll be ready to use it. A little bit, but we'll let it sit. So let's go over to the stove and we'll do these. Now I did do the bacon ahead of time, and as you can see, there is some bacon drippings in there. So along with the bacon grease. So first, we're going to cook red onions. And we're going to get these cooked. Now the recipe says when the onions are done, take the onions out, clean out the skillet, and then just put in a tad more of the bacon grease. Well, I don't bother to do that. I just take the onions out and then I put the mushrooms in. So this will take just a few minutes. I'll turn it up a little higher. Okay, now I'm going to set these aside. Now, why would you want to waste all that? The fond that's down there in the pan. Whoops. Get out of there. You're not supposed to throw them all over the stove. One thing about the mushrooms, these are the baby bellas, but you don't want to wash them. Wipe them off with either a paper towel or a cloth. They absorb too much water, then they won't brown. Okay, you ready? Okay, we're going to put some of the mushrooms. We're going to add some of the onions. Okay, let's go over and get our dressing. We on? Okay. Let's put some hard-boiled eggs on before we do that. Okay, now we're ready for the dressing. And let's go with the bacon. And I found these at Publix, glazed pecans. So we'll add a little crunch. And there we have it. I think it looks mighty good. I hope you'll try it. I have a hungry cameraman here, so we're going to have our lunch. I'll put the recipe up on the website. It's a little different twist to the regular spinach salad. Hope you'll try it. Bye-bye.
And now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Welcome to the Happenings segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chanley. This is Caitlin Van Scoy, and we're going to tell you what's going on here today at Shell Point. We start with the Health Connections class at 7:15. Bend, breathe, and balance. That's down in the health club on the island. And we have a lunch outing going to Snook Haven. That's on the Myakka River up in Venice, and that leaves at 8 o'clock. We start our court pickups at 8 o'clock on the island, 8:10 at the Woodlands. And Eagles Preserve and Estuary will expect their pickup at 8:20. At 8 o'clock, the Men's Golf Association will be at the Shell Point Golf Club. Also at 8 o'clock, we have pickleball at the pickleball court. And then our round-robin doubles tennis will be going on at 8 o'clock as well. We'll move to 9 o'clock for Samba, the card game, at the Woodlands Sable Room. And at 9:30, current events will be in the game room of the Woodlands. The ladies' match play tennis will be at 9:30 down at the tennis courts. And those paddlers will be going out at 9:30 for their weekly trip, and they meet at the kayak facility. At 9:45, we have introduction to beginning line dancing, and that's held in the health club. From 10 until 12, the photo gallery and studio will be open for tours. At 10:15, we have basic line dancing in the health club. And the Susie Q heads to Rum Runners at 11. You do need to sign up for those trips. That's our morning. Here's Caitlin for the afternoon.
Thank you, Bev. We have Mahjong in the Library Lounge at 12:45. And at 1:15, we have the Butterfly Garden Committee meeting in the Butterfly Garden. Shuffleboard will be played at the Shuffleboard courts at 1:15. And the spot play readers will be in the Osprey Room at 1:15. 1:30, we have a Health Connections class, Aqua Pilates Stretch. That'll be in the Life Quest Aquatic Center. From 2 to 4 today, the photo gallery and studio will be open for viewing. 2:15, we have another Health Connections class, How to Eat a Rainbow. That'll be in the Social Center, and you do need to sign up for that. The Computer Club will be gathering in the Manatee Room at 2:15. At 2:45, we have another Health Connections class, Balance and Mobility Training Level 2. That'll be in the Health Club, and that's currently full. The seamstress will be here for her weekly service at 4 o'clock. That'll be in the Osprey Room. The Alcoholics Anonymous meeting will be in the Sable Room of the Woodlands at 4:30. 6:30 is a time for Pinochle in the Library Lounge. And our last activity of the day is at 7 o'clock with Trailblazers Bible Study in the Game Room of the Woodlands. We hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Terry Coleth with your Academy information for Thursday. At 9:15, we offer free online storage with OneDrive, a technology class in the Technology Teaching Center on the island. Sign up is required. Then at 10:15, Blowin' with the Wind in the Social Center on the island. Sign up is required. For tomorrow, just a reminder that Penny Modridge of Nautilus and some of her favorite assistants will be in the Technology Teaching Center on the island for your walk-in clinic for iPads.
Menus for Thursday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is turkey scallopini with broccoli and brown rice. The dinner special is the Crystal Carving Board for $13.95, and the soup of the day is broccoli cheddar bacon. In the Island Cafe for lunch, the special is a grilled ham and turkey with Swiss cheese on rye with chips for $7.25. The dinner special is Thai night for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are New York Strip for $19.95 or Snapper for $15.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. Make room for us in your hearts, wrote the Apostle Paul to the Christians in Corinth. Make room for us in your hearts. In a previous letter, he had found it necessary to rebuke the Corinthian believers. So some had taken offense. Instead of tickling their ears, Paul's teaching had challenged their consciences. Now he was planning a return visit to Corinth, so he challenged the Christians there to receive him kindly. He felt their hearts were too small, so he pleaded with them to receive him as their brother. Make room for us in your hearts. Many of us today struggle with the Corinthian problem. It's not that other believers have offended us. It's that they are associated with other Christian denominations or movements, so we're just not sure about them. We're reluctant to embrace believers who differ from us. Some of us have tended to focus on our own denominational practice and viewpoint so that we have lost sight of the mission of the church. We have become ingrown, clannish, introspective, exclusive. Missionary author Major W. Ian Thomas put it this way regarding how to relate to Christians of a different tradition. We tend to think that if they're one of ours, they must be one of his. We need to realize that if they're one of his, they must be one of ours. So Paul challenges us to treat one another with love. Make room for us in your heart, he begs. Don't look for reasons to screen people out. Look for reasons to include them, remembering that all true believers are saved uniquely by the grace of God. From God's perspective, therefore, our unity is a function of our common life in Christ, not our conformity to a particular doctrine or practice or denomination. There's a little ditty on this subject that goes like this. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. They drew a circle and cast us out. But love and we had the grace to win. We made a circle and put them in. If you're a Christian, are you living in a little circle or a big one? Is your heart small like that of the Corinthians, or big enough to embrace true and devout people of other denominations? One thing I enjoy about the village church is that we represent followers of Jesus who have traditionally worshipped in over 20 different denominations. God has brought us together in harmony. We've all lost some traditions, some church practices, and friends, but we've all gained something and are reminded that the Church of God is larger than the denomination that we were used to. A young friend of mine died some time ago of an enlarged heart. It was 4 times the size of a normal heart. Some of us, like the Corinthians, though, suffer from the opposite problem. Our hearts are too small, and that can be fatal too. So when it comes to relating to other believers, is your heart big enough? Really? And thank you for tuning in to Village Church Connections.
Well, that wraps up today's show. Be sure to come back again tomorrow when we'll get a preview of this weekend's art show and sale from Melody Desolé. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Thursday, March 19th. I'm Dan Philgreen, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow.